charity wreath making workshop. I'm Emily and I head up Design by Nature Flowers, and this workshop I'm going to be teaching you how to make your very own wild, organic looking wreath, something like this. As you can see, this has a beautiful sense of movement and has a real mixture of dried flowers, grasses and greenery, and all of the stuff that's in this wreath is going to be available in your DIY wreath kits. Everything I've got on the table now is included, so we've got all of the pines and ferns, we've got moss, we've got straw flowers, pine cones, oranges and fruits, ribbon, and a selection of dry flowers as well. Also in your pack you'll have a gold wreath hoop and some real wire. If you've not already got your DIY wreath pack, then you can order that from the website and the details will be below. You can also catch us on Instagram at Design by Nature Flowers. So, first things first, you'll have everything you need in your wreath pack, but the only thing you don't have is a really strong pair of scissors. So make sure you have these with you because you will be needing them to cut stems and to cut the greenery, which can be a bit tough at times. So, they're really easy, I promise, and I have every faith that your wreath will look beautiful. So to get started, we're going to be taking our gold hoop like this, and we're going to be attaching on this real wire. Now this stays on in two processes. So the wire stays on in stage 1, which is when we're attaching the moss, which is here. We'll take it off, and then in stage 2, when we're attaching on all our greenery, when that's finished, we'll take that off completely, and then we'll start with all of the beautiful decoration. So to attach our wire, simply just kind of wrap it over the outer edge of your gold hoop. Keep it going over a good few times. We want it to feel really nice and secure and it's not going anywhere. If this comes undone, your wreath will fall apart, and I mean, we definitely don't want that to happen. So get that on nice and tight. Once it's on the outer binding, unwrap it a little bit and then run it over the gold hoop just a few times, like this. Make sure it feels nice and secure, like this. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to be attaching our moss. What the moss does is it adds moisture to the greenery and a cushioning base to the real wire hoop. Most of you will be probably having your wreaths outside, so the moss will capture the moisture in the air, especially in the cool time of year, and it will keep our wreaths looking super fresh. So what you're going to do is just kind of take small little bundles like this, and if I'm kind of doing this backwards, you're going to be placing the bundles over the top of the hoop and then wrapping the wire over the top of it. Like, I'm just going to do this a few times. It can, don't pack it too dense, but don't be too sparse with it as well. So just sort of take bundles of about this size, I would say, something like this, and then pop that on top of the hoop and wrap over. And keep just going all the way around till either your moss is used up or you feel that it's got enough already on there. Keep that going on. I'm going to do mine. So, once you're finished, it should look like this. So you've got nice moss all the way around. It's kind of firm, but not really, really tight. It has a bit of a bounce in the moss layer. And this is the point that we do take off the reel of wire. So what I suggest is just going over the same point just a few times. cutting it kind of quite tight, so just go over the top bit, and then take a bit of length and cut the point off so it looks like this, and wrap that last edge around. And what I sort of tend to do is just sort of weave it over the back of what I've already done, just to secure it off. And that sharp end, I just push that into the moss itself. You can even twist the wire a bit if that's helpful. Like that. But actually, now what we're going to do is reattach it. The reason why I take it off in between is just, at least there's been some security points. So the next phase when we reattach is going to be for our greenery. So the same kind of principle as we attached before. I like to just sort of weave it over on there, weave it over on itself, and go over the same spot just a few times, just to make it feel nice and tight. Right, okay. Okay, so stage 2. You will have all been given some various pines and conifers and greenery in your boxes. I've taken the liberty of chopping some of these down for you, but some of you, if you're kind of finding you want to add in extra bits, you might even have a couple of bigger, larger pieces. But generally you want to kind of chop these bits down. Okay. So I always use this as the base, and then I add just a few other bits of more kind of delicate, interesting pieces of foliage on top, like this. And some of this sort of beautiful pines. I like to have a real varied mix in my wreaths because I think it just breaks it up a little bit. It allows the greenery to sort of do lots of interesting things. And what you're looking to do is just make these small little bundles, and each little bundle then gets attached onto the wreath individually. So this is my first bundle. And what I'm going to do is place this on top of my mossed wreath ring. Now I like to go round clockwise, so starting at 1 o'clock, facing towards the 12 o'clock. And I place the whole bundle on top of the moss, and then with my real wire go over the stems several times, just to secure that first bundle in place. Once I feel that that's quite strong, and again, don't be really tight, just, firm but not too tight, I can move on to the next one. And again, sort of think about sort of just slightly bit, I've got quite small hands, but hand-sized pieces. Obviously the bigger the piece, the bigger the wreath will end up being, and sometimes it can get a bit out of hand. So keep it, not too big. And then make up another little bundle of greenery, playing with sort of different textures that you've got in your kit. So next bundle going on, and what you're going to do is place this next bundle over the top of your first bundle. So you're sort of starting to move around into the 2 o'clock position, and then wire that on. What's this doing is it's covering over the stems of the first one and creating a beautiful sort of fanned out shape as you're going all the way around. And that's kind of the key to it, really. So it's creating a bundle out of your greenery, remembering put this larger blue pine at the back, and then build up more delicate pieces of greenery at the front, and then placing that over the top of the piece that you've just added, going round in a clockwise position. So I'm going to just cut up some more little hand-sized pieces to go on and work my way around. last bundle. I'm just going to push it into the gap, almost slightly push it under the first where you started. So you're now at 11 o'clock, or basically midnight, and you're just going to again do that last wrapping over with the reel wire, and do this one really nice and tight. Make sure it feels really secure into the wreath base and into the moss, and just go over this several times just until you're happy that that's not going to start to come undone. Okay, so this is it. This is your green wreath base. We can add in more little bits once we've tied this off, but this is the base of your wreath. So I'm just going to cut my reel wire off now, and the same as before with the moss, I'm just going to sort of push it through some of the wiring that I've done, almost to make a knot, and just pulling it tight to make sure it feels secure. You can twist it, you can knot it any way that you feel that's going to help, and then push that end of the wire into the moss, not the back. So next stage, decoration. You'll all have a selection of these dried flowers, and what you're going to be doing is you're just going to be trimming some of these stems down and pushing it into the wired on bundles. So if I just take this big piece, for example, I think that's just really fun, and I want to have it sort of poking out of the wreath. So I'm just going to literally push that into the wreath itself. And what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to go around clockwise, and I'm just sort of going to decorate the wreath all the way around as I go. I either will group colours, or I can have them sort of dotted out sporadically if I want it to look more kind of wild. But at the moment I think I'm just going to start with some of my grasses and more kind of creamy pieces. And again, just literally find the gaps in between the bundles and push the stems into this. I would do my dried flowers first, and then do the pine cones and the fruits and these straw flower heads at the end. So if you have any kind of colours and pinks and colours, you can start to put them in. Everyone's different, you know, some of you might like to be a bit more symmetrical with it. I prefer to look for asymmetry in the designs that I create. And by doing this, you'll definitely have started to decide which is the top of the wreath, which is the bottom of the wreath. Think about that as you're adding in the flowers. If you're having any trouble sort of pushing through or feeding in the stems, sometimes if it just isn't going to go, just move it slightly and then move it to a different spot. Great, I think my wreath is nearly there. decoration now. I've got my pine cones and my fruit on, and I've started to put my straw flower heads on. So I'm just going to show you a quick little trick to use for putting on your pine cones. So take some of your real wire and cut a piece off, and take a pine cone and just run the wire through the grooves of the pine cone until you've gone all the way around, and then twist that into a point. What you're doing is just creating a piece of wire that can push into the wreath and into the moss and in between the stems, and this is pretty much the easiest way to get on your pine cone. So have your point, and then just find the spot that you want to put it onto and just literally push that in sort of quite securely there. I tend to group things together, so group my pine cones and group my fruits, but obviously feel free to put yours wherever you wish. I just think aesthetically it looks nice when they're in twos or threes. Then with your straw flower heads, it's kind of a similar principle. Cut a little bit of the wire and just push through one end of it through the centre of the straw flower. It can sometimes be a bit tricky. You just need to find the right point. Okay, so one side's in. Just put in the other side, so essentially you're making that spike again. And there we go. So you've got a bit of a loop. Pull that all the way through on both sides, like that, and just clear out the petals, and twist and make a spike. And again, you can push that straight into the wreath itself. You can just find a point where it will go in quite nice and easily. And last but not least is your fruit and your oranges. Again, take a small piece of wire. I just push mine through the fruit and then around the rind. You can make a spike again, or you can attach it onto a piece of foliage. That is up to you. But I'm just going to make a spike like that, and I'm just going to push that into the wreath. And that is kind of it, really. I think I'm going to leave mine there for now. So it's kind of wild. I kind of really, which is my top there? I'm going to say this is the top. I really like having kind of these wild bits at the top and bits kind of coming out from here. Maybe I'll move that bit around here a bit more. But now it's just time to add on your ribbon. You can either have a bow at the bottom, which I quite like, and then attach your wreath onto the door with some string, or you could put the bow at the top. That's totally up to you, but just literally take the ribbon that's in your pack, wrap it all the way around, and just tie that on in a nice bow. The ribbon has some wire in it, so it helps to make a nice bow shape. So just play with that and get it looking nice. Right, there we go. So good luck. I'm sure they're all going to look amazing. You can always drop us an email if you have any questions, and I'd love to see your wreaths. So please tag us if you put them on Instagram at Design by Nature Flowers. And thank you for joining the class.